Guys, we're going to be talking about different releases. I've got a thumb button release, we've got a hinge release, and a wrist strap release. All three are great options for both target shooting as well as bow hunting. But I kind of want to go over the reason why I have all three and why I use all three. So if you're kind of curious on which release you should get, what one maybe start off with and then graduate to whatever might be, there's three different great release options right here that we will go over. And I've got the target set out at 60 yards. We'll kind of show you guys using all three and how well each one of them perform and what duties they all have. First release that I want to cover is this Scott Archery S2. This is going to be your wrist strap release. This one in particular I really like because you have to lock it in, so it's very similar to like a thumb button where it releases but then you have to relock, right, to have that on. Reason for that is I feel like you can set that to be a lot more sensitive on the brake versus just having like a spring load or anything like that you constantly have to pull that trigger. So this one is right, barely have to put any pressure and that thing releases. So this is gonna be kind of the easiest type of release to run when bow hunting especially. I feel like most beginners start off with a wrist release due to easeability of it. All right, just had to range my target, got it set down there at 66 yards. So again, this release, which is really nice, it puts all of that tension on the drawback on your wrist, right? So when you're drawing back, my hand can be totally free, and then when I'm hiking around hunting or just hanging out at the range, it is attached to my wrist. I don't have to think about losing it. Another safety factor of a wrist release is sometimes with a finger release, a handheld release, you can, if you're not super comfortable or your hands are sweaty, it can be released and shoot through your bow if you don't have a strap attached to it. So that's kind of a big thing to add, I would say, for a safety factor with this wrist release. So nice thing is sitting there, and whenever I draw back, my finger stays behind that trigger, and then you never want to be gripping that release because that's going to change. So wrap that finger all the way around, shoot, pulled that thing. And sometimes with this type of trigger release, people get what you call target panic. So that's where, you know, you're floating on the target, boom, punch, which is going to cause you to be a little less consistent with your shots. So that is something that I personally struggle with when shooting a wrist release on a regular basis. So that right there is the Scott S2. Very simple to use, very self-explanatory. Most wrist releases are going to be very, very similar. Next up is this Apex Core by Scott Archery. This is a thumb button release. I have really enjoyed this release. One, it can be locked onto your D loops. You don't have to worry about holding, especially if you're sitting in a tree stand or, you know, spot and stock, and you're just hanging out waiting for that opportunity to draw back on an animal. This one's going to be quite a decent amount accurate. You're going to be able to have I feel a little bit of a better follow through with your shot if you really focus on how you are pushing that button. You never want to punch it. It's not a trigger, it's more of like a motion to get that to go off. And that's the benefit of the next release that I'll go over, the hinge. So let's go ahead and shoot this. I keep my thumb out of the way of that button on the draw, so keep it behind that, and then I bring it forward, and then I just lay into the shot nice and slow, and it should be a surprising shot. That one's totally surprised me. Was not expecting it to go off, which is the exact type of shot that you want to have. You never want to be punching that trigger. Sometimes, obviously, in some hunting situations within close quarters, like sometimes you do have to punch the trigger in different scenarios, but coaching purposes, it is very important to not be punching that trigger. Shoot this one more time. One big factor, or like kind of good technique that somebody taught me, is treat it like you're squeezing a tennis ball. Just slow, your whole hand is squeezing that tennis ball, which I feel really helps with a thumb release. Okay, next up to bat is gonna be this Scout Archery backspin. This is a hinge release, so there is no trigger. What happens is, as you pull it back, it clicks, and then it gets to a certain point where that hook releases. And so all it is part of the entire motion of shooting a bow that is going to do it. Downside is this one you can't attach to your D-loop, it's just a hook. So you have to always have it in your hand, which isn't that big of a deal. But the biggest factor in having a hinge release that I've noticed is helping that target panic. Like I mentioned earlier, this is always a surprise shot release. Yeah, you can punch it, but you're gonna basically miss your target because there's so much movement in it when you punch it. So this I use a lot in the off season. I did just hunt with it for the first time. I didn't end up killing anything, didn't have the opportunity, but I did hunt with it, which made me a little bit nervous just because it is harder. You can't punch that trigger in a scenario that you might need to, but I didn't want to put myself in that situation. I wanted to put myself into executing a perfect shot. So I did practice with this last season quite a bit. There is a thumb hook right there that's kind of like your safety. So then I release off the safety and just go through my shot process. So that one right there, I have this bow sighted into this release. So that was the literal perfect money shot. That was 66 yards, perfect bullseye. And it just really makes you focus on your shot process to do that full entire follow through with a surprise shot. So again, there is a click. I'll let you guys hear it. So as I bring this back, see if it focuses. As I bring this back, you hear that click, and then it releases. So I have you can set the click on or off. So I have the click on, so I kind of know where I'm at. So it'll click, let me know that I'm close. That way, in a scenario that if I have to let down, it just personally, it just makes me feel a little bit safer. Let's draw this one back again. And you always just want to allow that pin to float. So again, perfect bullseye right there. That pin is just floating right on that target. Obviously consistently, whether it's a figure 8 or a perfect circle, it's hitting right on that bullseye the majority of the time. And you just trust the shot process. Don't punch the trigger. Joel Turner with Shot IQ really teaches this very, very well. I'm not the best at it. I definitely have to practice a lot, especially with this hinge. But this hinge helps get rid of that target panic for me quite a bit. So that is the reason why I have this, as well as my thumb button and my wrist strap. Wrist strap I enjoy shooting. I feel like it's really easy. Thumb button, I love to shoot that one. I try to just switch it up pretty consistently, just because I feel like I shoot better when I do that. So let's go grab those arrows real quick and kind of go over some more pros and cons of each. All right, I feel like this is a great example to kind of show. So I shot 3 different releases, 2 arrows out of each release. The wrist strap shot to the right, the thumb button shot to the left, and my hinge shot in the center. So I'll go ahead and show you these 3 different groupings to kind of show that, yes, your release does change where that arrow flight is going. Changes your anchor points a little bit, even though, I'm shooting very similar with these releases. It just goes to show that it is important to hunt or shoot with the release that you always practice with and sight your bow into. All right, so this one was way low. That one was with the wrist strap. This is with the wrist strap. This is with the hinge, and this is right here with the thumb button. So that just goes to show you thumb button's left, hinge center, and wrist strap to the right. So real quick, I would recommend, if you're just getting into archery, to maybe stick towards the thumb button or the wrist strap. Right off the bat, I feel like you're gonna have a more pleasant time shooting. The hinge, it can be a little bit sketchy. It can be kind of scary. Your first few shots, I basically just had a whole target wall at my shop that I first shot a hinge at, and that really helped me to not have to worry about like aiming or anything and just focus on that shot. Like, it's very surprising, it's weird, it throws you off. If you want to maybe stick with not getting into a bad habit of shooting by punching the trigger, maybe a hinge, or they make a tension release to where you pull it back. I don't personally have one, and you'll let off the safety and then you just pull through, and once it hits a certain amount of poundage that it is pulling, it'll break. So that can be a really good option as well to help with the target panic and trigger punching. But these three options, these are all by Scott Archery. I really love the Scott Archery releases. I've had this backspin for the last, gosh, maybe 8 years maybe. Have really loved it. The Apex core I've had for about 2 years, and then same with the S2, had for about 2 years, and all really great options. I've hunted a lot with the S2, shot a few deer with this. I never actually hunted with my Apex core by Scott, but I have hunted one hunt with this backspin, and honestly I think it's just really important to practice different products and stuff to learn what you shoot personally best, and what is going to be more comfortable and help you keep better muscle memory and not get into any bad habits. So that is kind of my thoughts on these different types of releases. Hopefully this helps you understand what release might be best for you. But I really enjoy shooting these things. I have a lot of fun, and just messing around, just tinkering. So hopefully that helps out, guys. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when I do post, and then comment what type of videos that you guys want to see. And then if you are interested in getting one of these releases, I'll throw a link down below. If you don't have the option to purchase one of these through your local dealer, I recommend always purchasing at your local shop just to help support them. But if they don't carry these and you're looking for them, I'll throw a link to a couple different places where you might be able to find these online. So appreciate you guys, appreciate your support, and we'll catch you guys next time.